Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further adding to it, it's the man with the plan to put gold in your hand, Tony Hammock.
Good morning.
I
forgot about that part.
Me too.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Hey,
No
out
offense,
there in
Asa.
Acts
Sorry
Media
about that.
Land.
Good morning. That's our producer Matt in the background trying to.
We've got a big, full show ready for you here, and we'll get underway and stuff. It's a great morning out there. If you're in Southwest Missouri, if you're not, you should be. Matt's given us the 5-minute sign, so we'll be quick. No, I'm just kidding.
That's how it feels.
But, hey, one thing that's going on today is this is Ace's last broadcast for a while.
Yes.
Ace is going back to school, he thinks.
So far.
And he leaves Friday, and we'll be gone. I guess that's the 14th. He'll be gone, and he was just telling Matt he'll probably be gone like 2 months before he comes back to Springfield. So wish him well.
I'll miss you too, Matt. And ciao. No.
Cheers.
I have plenty of time to tell him I'll miss him, but I'll definitely miss the free food, right?
The free food's big. Yeah, all the boys at our house like free food. But anyway, so as far as today, boy, I tell you what, if you're following gold and silver, which is two of our main topics, because we talk about alternative assets, and those are the most popular most days, is maybe not yesterday, but, you know, we've had an active week. I mean, I want to say Thursday, gold hit an all-time high, somewhere like 2,086 on the spot price an ounce. Silver got up over 29. It almost touched 30. And, you know, if you remember last week's show, we were saying that, you know, this advance happened so quick that there would probably be some kind of a correction or a pullback. I mean, that's just kind of the way the markets work. You know, you've got a lot of people that with the size of their positions, you know, if it moves that much in a short period of time, you know, they're going to take it at some point, take some money off the table, which yesterday they took a lot of money off the table. Both gold and silver were down significantly. Gold was down 5.4% and silver was down, I want to say, 14%. The good news is they're both back today, starting to gain traction again. And that's exactly, I think, kind of what I said last week is that let's wait for the pullback and then let's start getting some more money to work in these two metals. So if you've been following my plan, you know, today would be a good day to probably take advantage of the lower prices. It's kind of like shoes. I mean, all you guys out there, don't your wives, or all you wives out there, don't your guys, I mean, with the women, it's like, hey, there's a shoe sale down at the mall or at Plaza Shoes or wherever it is. And, you know, off they go and, you know, they come back with like these bags full of shoes and stuff, if you're like my wife. And then with the guys, it's like, hey, Bass Pro's got a big sale going on, you know, and or the golf store or whatever, you know, and they take off. And they know a good deal when they see it because, you know, now something's 30% off or something like that. And they take advantage of it. Well, you know, the same holds true with financial assets. And we had a sale yesterday. So if you're smart, if you're savvy, if you want to practice the same principles you do with your shoes and your fishing tackle, you want to get some more dollars working probably with the metals these days, today. Because I got to tell you, gold and silver are both already up. In fact, why don't we just use that as a nice little segue into the pricing that's going on out there. I show on my computer the gold ask right now is $19.40 and 10 cents, and the silver ask is $25.75. And I know at one point yesterday gold got below 1900, and silver, I believe, was almost below 25. So we've had just a lot of activity in the last 36 hours. But that's the way it goes, you know. But one, we've got turbulent times, and two, we've got two vehicles here that if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, should be in a lot of folks' portfolios and stuff. Anyway, gold as of 8:50 this morning is up $24.70. It's back up to $1,935.70. Silver is up 76 cents. It's at $25.63. Platinum is $926. Palladium is $2,180, and rhodium is up to $10,700 an ounce. Now, those all five were precious metals, and those price quotes are by the ounce.
Wow. That's a lot of increase in the price of gold and silver since yesterday.
Yeah, it is.
I fear this window may be closing for it to be such a good sale.
Well, it wasn't just Acts Ministry viewers probably, waiting for the sale. I mean, you got to think gold and silver are a worldwide asset. And so, I mean, it's people in India and people in Germany and, I mean, everywhere, South Africa, and they saw it, start to come down a little bit, and it's like, okay, that's what we've been waiting for. And then, they start to gradually move in. And you'll see that with a lot of assets, but especially with these two, they'll be like 2 steps forward and then a step back. And 2 steps forward and then a step back. And, it's just people taking some profits and or other things going on. I remember gold is very tightly tied to the dollar. So yesterday the dollar did strengthen, and so that's a little bit about what happened there. It's not the whole influence as far as the price change, but the dollar did strengthen. You did have Joe Biden announce his VP candidate, Kamala Harris. Not that that had much of an impact, but I know, anytime there's news, there's people that are using that as noise, distractions, and sometimes people make decisions emotionally. We've talked about that on the show before, and that's why we try to encourage folks to use a systematic approach. So you remove the emotions from the transaction. Just every month I'm going to put $1,000 in or $100 in, or whatever your pocketbook can afford. Maybe it's 15 cents. I don't know, but every month we're going to move the same amount in, and no matter if things are higher or lower, overall we're going to have a better cost than price. But let me see. Before I get too distracted here, here's the base metals. Now these prices are by pound. Copper is $2.88. Nickel is $6.41. Aluminum is 79 cents. Zinc is $1.07. Lead is 87 cents. And Ace's favorite, uranium, is $32 a pound.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is uranium going down?
It went down 10 cents.
Oh, no. I need to buy it up so it'll go up again.
Yeah, you want to hoard that stuff. Yeah, why don't you hoard that in your apartment over in Tulsa?
Yeah, on my last radio show, I want to make it very clear to the NSA, I have no interest in obtaining uranium.
Do not hoard that at my house.
I do not hoard uranium. Don't want that to be my legacy.
Crude oil is $42.38 a barrel. And Dow Jones Industrial Average so far today, as of 8:49, is up 282 points at 27,969. So just a lot of volatility going on there, a lot of news, a lot of things happening. I mean, here's just in breaking news. Gold bulls continue to claw back as prices creeping up in late morning trading. Today's lows are key. See AM report for details. October gold futures up $5 to 1944, and that's kind of what I was saying a minute ago. Is I would not dally. I would, if you're going to do it, let's get it done, and stuff like that. I mean, yesterday when the market closed, I mean, I think one of the first reports I saw was from one of my favorite interviewers with one of my favorite interviewees, and this gentleman was talking that his price target for gold has not changed. He thinks gold's going to be at 3,400, in the next year or so. And so, in fact, he called stuff that happened yesterday noise. Don't let the noise distract you from, what our purpose is, which is what Asa and I, our purpose is we'd like to see each and every one of you have, gold and silver in your possession, so that if something should happen where you need it to survive, you've got it already. Because trust me, if you wait till you need it, it will be exponentially higher than it is today. And you will not be wanting to pay whatever it is, nor will you probably have the ability to pay whatever it's going to be, the asking price is going to be. So enough of that. That's the pricing. Asa, what do you got for us?
Let's talk dollar cost averaging.
Oh.
So this is a topic that you've brought up in previous weeks, and I think it's very important that we talk about it now, especially after seeing what happened yesterday. So the concept is you don't want to invest everything you've got at one time. You don't want to just jump in full horse because, as you said, it's important to take a systematic approach. So dollar cost averaging is a theory that you do a little bit in each month. Sometimes you invest when the costs are low. Sometimes you invest when the costs are high. On average, if you have an asset that on average goes up in price, then on average you will increase in your profits. And that speaks really well to gold, as we've seen in the past. And before I say this, I will stipulate, again, prior performance is not indicative of future performance, but we've seen a steady climb on average of gold and silver. And so whenever you're investing in a asset like this, doing a systematic approach so that when you have high days like a couple days ago when it was up to 2040, or when you have low days when it was yesterday when it was almost down to 1900 again, on average, your total profits will increase. And Tony mentioned this last week. He said I gave him a lot of credit yesterday when this news came out because he said, don't jump in all at once. There will probably be a pullback. Go for a dollar cost average. And lo and behold, yesterday was evidence that there was indeed a pullback and that gold and silver dropped by, what would you say, silver was 15%, gold was pretty close, like 5.
Well, 5.4 or 5. Yeah,
but it was a $100 drop. So if you've got an ounce of gold, you lost $100 in the deal. But the important part there is that he predicted that, and the important part is that as long as you're going for a dollar cost average, those pullbacks are just noise, because in the end you will still keep that increase in profit. However, when you are going for a dollar cost average, it is important to know when the lows are, it seems pretty clear to many scholars are claiming right now that this is as the scholar that Tony pointed out, just noise, or just that was a dip and it's going to continue to go up. So now may be the time that you want to get in but still keep a systematic approach. Again, at any time you want to go all in, you're never going to know what is the biggest high and what is the biggest low. So you want to be careful. Going for that dollar cost average is the safest and best way to ensure that your assets are protected. And it's when you're going for something like silver and gold, a lot of the incentive towards investing in those, of course, is wealth accumulation, but more importantly is protecting your wealth insurance, as we like to call it. And so this dollar cost averaging approach is probably the best way to ensure your wealth assurance. So it's a very good tool, and I think it was very impressive in how telling it is in this last week that a dollar cost averaging approach would make anyone come out on top at the end of this week versus somebody that invested everything they had 2 days ago. It was probably very sad yesterday, which is why it's important to be careful and take that dollar cost average approach, because you almost never lose with a dollar cost average approach. That's the safe play to go.
Well, let's move on to one little thing that I wanted to draw everybody's attention to, which is when we were coming back from the lake back on Friday, July 31st, a friend of mine that's in 7K metals, by the way, called me up because he was all excited. He was in the store at 7K buying silver right and left and stuff, and he mentioned there was one or two of them that were out of stock, and I thought, oh, I better check and see. So we stopped for lunch, and I went in, and the first one I went to buy was a Philharmonic ounce of silver, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute, but I wanted to buy 4 of them, and I put my order in for 4, hit submit, I get the receipt, I got 1. I'm like, what happened there? So I go back in and I try again, and they're gone. And I was talking to Kelly at the home office for 7K on Monday, that Monday, and I said, God, I must have got the absolute last one. She goes, you did. But what was interesting is 2 hours later when we were finally home and I was back in my office, I went in to check, and they had Canadian maple leafs. 1 ounce silver coins, Canadian maple leafs. And I love Canadian maple leafs. I mean, I love silver eagles, but I love Canadian maple leafs. And the reason being is you get more bang for your buck, so to speak, with maple leafs. There's a little bit less premium on a maple leaf as there is to a silver eagle. So I went in, got 4, hit submit, got them. And and I have them right here. They got delivered the other day. And here are my 4 Canadian silver maple leafs. And I know we've got this set up where it's difficult for you to see, but we'll try. You know, here's 2 of them. And then here's the other 2. And the reason why I love the maple leafs is, 1, the value, but 2, they're kind of ubiquitous, which means that there's all kinds of pricing out there that I can compare it to. And yesterday I was, you know how you're on your phone or your computer and, you know, in your feed you get these ads that you didn't ask for, but they're showing up and stuff. I had this ad pop in yesterday, and it was for, you know, some other company, and they were wanting me to take a look at their maple leafs. And the price was like, you know, $33 a piece. And I was like, wait a minute. You know, back on July 31st, when silver was actually higher, I got mine, and I went back to look just before, while Asa was talking there. I got my maple leafs at $29.82 a piece. So, and those are Canadian maple leaf 1-ounce silver coins, 2020s, $29.82. And after the market had gone down yesterday 14 or 15% in silver, this other outfit was still wanting to sell them for, you know, like 33 a piece. And then looking on the internet this morning, I just plugged in Canadian maple leaf. There's one company here that has Canadian maple leafs still today going for $33.50. And then there's another company that's got maple leafs going for $38.86 a piece. $38.86. That's almost $10 more than what I paid for them back on the 31st. So my point is that what we're finding is the 7K method is working because of the buyers club concept. We are really getting the lowest prices out there, and the other side of that is that the word's getting out. So there have been a few times where people have gone into the store. Now, I'm not talking about any of the systematic programs or the sound money wallet concept. I'm saying the store, and there's a lot of things sold out. And what we're finding, Asa and I, is that if you go in first thing in the morning, they've had a chance to replenish it overnight. And like in that example on the 31st, you know, I went in 2 hours later, so that would have been about 3, 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and the maple leafs had been added since, you know, noon when we stopped for lunch. So I guess what I'm saying in summary is that if you're, you know, interested in the coins, the gold and silver, the bullion, and you go to our store and something's sold out, don't think it's sold out forever. You know, check back in a couple hours. Call me. My number is 417-755-0700. Check back early hours the next morning. But what I'm having a lot of success with is just kind of, you know, watching it. And then, you know, not to be redundant, the bottom line is we're getting it for a whole heck of a lot less than you can get it elsewhere. And so I'm really pleased with my little Canadian maple leaf edition and stuff. Do you have any additions that you want to share?
I do. So you remember how excited you were about your hot air balloon for New Mexico?
Oh, yeah.
I myself have acquired a New Mexico silver dollar with a hot air balloon on the top right corner as well.
Oh, sweet.
Right. I just thought yours was so cool I had to get my own. No, really, it came with the standard coin, so now we have matching coins. So
I like it.
I may just accidentally, you know, see yours and think it's mine, and then, oh no, now it's in my collection. So
I wouldn't do that.
No?
No.
No.
Tulsa's not that far away.
You will come find me, huh?
We'll have stealth Tony collection service.
Oh boy.
Now, the coin that I started trying to add that Friday were the Wiener Philharmoniker, Republic of Österreich. Anyway, this is what they had at that point, and these are 0.9999% purity silver and stuff. And it's almost kind of a blessing in the fact that I only got one of the 4 I ordered here, but circled back a couple hours later and got the maple leafs. Because, I mean, personally, I just, you can tell, I really like Canadian maple leafs and stuff. And I just was trying to jump on this because this one friend of mine was panicking. You know, I mean, he was in there buying up. It was probably him that caused the shortage, knowing this particular individual, because he was just buying stuff up faster than you could, you know, say gold and silver. And, you know, I'll take a moment just real quick and kind of clarify things. You know, we, over the years now that we've been doing the show, you know, we talk about a variety of gold and silver vendors, and we've, you know, for the most part, kind of settled on 7K because of the 9 or 10 benefits the members get that join the Buyers Club. Excuse me, and the quality and so forth, and the pricing, which is the main thing. And then for our folks that want that concierge level of service and our higher net worth type, you know, where they just, you know, I want to buy $1 million worth of gold, you know, that type of stuff. We've settled on National Gold Consultants. And Ryan Long up there in Minnesota runs a very, very clean shop and has been doing it for 40 years. So, you know, I've had times where we've sent him an order for someone and he'll come back and say, hey, you know, silver's at this. I think if I can wait a couple hours or till tomorrow morning, I can get it a little bit better. And we just kind of let him call the shots. And sure enough, the next morning I'll get an email saying, okay, we've completed the transaction and we got it for this. And sure enough, I mean, usually he's right on target. So, you know, we're thrilled with that relationship and stuff. So don't think that we're, you know, just going to talk about 7K metals. It just seems that lately we have, because we've kind of eliminated some of the also rans and stuff. So
as you always say, 7K metals is how to get into it for the common man, right?
Well, yeah, and I think what I'm trying to say, long-winded as it's turned out, is that really our mission here is to talk about the alternative assets, and in this case, gold and silver. And if you've got a place to get it and you're happy, you know, forge ahead. And if you've got an advisor, then you want to talk to them about adding gold and silver to your portfolio, please do so. Now, on the other hand, if you're not happy with your advisor, or your advisor does not deal in gold and silver, which a lot don't, then, you know, give me a shout, 417-755-0700. Ace is our gold and silver expert going forward for Hammock Financial Group, and he can be reached at.
You want to give me an email or a phone number? I'll give you a phone number, 417-343-1779, or you can email me at asopple@gmail.com.
Don't know what that means, but it seems to work.
All the other ones that were even remotely close to my name were taken.
So anyway, well, hey, you know, one of the things that we really like to do is the stewardship course. You ready for the stewardship course?
I'm ready for the stewardship course.
Well, it's kind of a funny story. You know, we've been doing the stewardship course for the most part since we started this show, and I really dig it. I mean, this is probably my favorite part of the show, even though I love some of the topics that we discuss and so forth. And, you know, the last stewardship course we had was only 3 classes, and so we did the last one last week in our first show back from vacation, and you know, and it was a good one and stuff. So I got up early this morning and I was like, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to find a new stewardship course so we can, you know, have one for the show. And, you know, that old thing, you know, prior planning prevents
Poor performance.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
You wanted to add an extra word
I did.
there.
There was another P word coming in there, but Ace saved me. And I was looking, and, you know, I plugged in stewardship. And, you know, a couple new ones popped up that I, excuse me, hadn't used before. And so I had this weird inspiration. I thought, you know, since the show's talking about gold and silver a lot, and gold's only mentioned like 400 times in the Bible, and silver's only mentioned like 250 times in the Bible, maybe I should look for gold. So I plugged gold into my search engine where I find these courses, and lo and behold, a couple of courses popped up. And what was interesting was the very first course was literally called Gold by Nicola Neal. And, you know, I kind of looked at it and, you know, I was thinking, I don't know if that's really going to fit, you know. And then I kind of got in and started reading, like, this first devotional I'm going to share with you here. And it's kind of funny the way things work, you know, because this devotional doesn't really talk about metals or money per se, but it does have a nice message. So I think we'll work on this one, at least for today. And if you like it or don't like it, please let us know. Text us, you know, 417-755-0700, easy for me to say, 0700. Text Matt. let Jim Winey and Pam know, Dr. Paul, anybody, they'll get word to us and stuff like
You can
that.
even tell me, and I'll let them know. I'll be in Tulsa, but I'll send them a text. This is my last stewardship course I'm going to get to listen to
I
on
know.
the air.
Well,
I'll listen to it online, but it won't be the same.
Well, so check this one out. So here's today's devotional from the new stewardship course. This particular lesson is called Mining for Gold. Now, are you with me? I mean, it's still like
Yeah,
we're
I'm liking this.
we're kind of on track, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Says, I believe there is God-given potential lying dormant inside every person, just waiting to be released. In our ministry, we simply call it gold. It doesn't matter whether you were born in the West or the developing world, whether you grew up amongst the most affluent or amongst the world's poor. Where you come from is irrelevant. That's just geography. What matters is who created you and what treasure he invested in you when he did. I believe that the words of Psalms 139 are true for everyone. Father God formed you, he created you, he purposed you, he destined you. The reality of who you are and the potential of your life is not based on your natural circumstances. It has nothing to do with your past or your present. What the people around our society has to say about you has no relevance. Who you are is based only on who your spiritual, supernatural creator is and what he says is true about you. Sometimes that gold, God-given potential, gets buried under the dirt of life. It is suffocated by poverty, religion, pain, and adverse circumstances. As believers, my job and yours is to walk alongside others and to help to mine for that gold in them, to uncover the buried treasure. We are called to see individuals, families, and whole communities released into the fullness of their God-given destiny and potential, to walk in the fullness of life that Jesus talks about. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. And that's John 10:10. The fundamental calling of each of our lives is simply to go and make disciples. This means much more than securing a person's eternal destiny. It's about empowering them to live their lives in the way Jesus demonstrated, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose and calling, whatever that looks like. The call to love him, then helping to draw others deeper into his love. It is my deep conviction that no life is too messy, no heart too broken, no situation too dark for the love of Jesus to come in, transform it, and make something beautiful from it. There is always beauty to be found, destiny to be recovered, gold to be discovered. Will we be the ones who mine for it? And I thought that was very appropriate for this show. And part of it is my friend Jim Winey. You know, I've heard Jim several times talk either on air or in sermons or presentations and stuff. And, you know, it always seems like there's a theme in a lot of his communication. And the theme is that, you know, it's one thing to be a Christian and to know Jesus, but it's another thing to actually go out and try to share it and, you know, take the message out to folks that maybe don't know Jesus. And, you know, I just thought that this devotional was perfect because, I mean, it really talks about that as far as like, you know, that's kind of our mission, really, when it comes right down to it. So, you know, the gold and silver that Asa and I talk about, you know, maybe that's my mission. I don't know. Asa's still trying to figure out what he's going to do over there. He's, you know, thinking he's going to run for governor or something, or I don't know.
We'll see.
We're going to get a politics. I mean, he was really bummed yesterday when he heard Kamala Harris was chosen. He was thinking old Biden was going to pick him, and then he realized he wasn't a Democrat, so he was like relieved actually when it was all said and done. But I'm getting too far off in the political weeds there, so I probably should digress.
Gonna say I'll have to pick a party before we vote up in this November election.
I mean, this is the man last week that we went to vote, and you know, we all ran over there after dinner before the polls closed, and we're all excited we're going to go in and vote and stuff. And Ace is like, "Oh, I forgot my wallet."
In my defense, we were going to dinner, and then I thought we were going to go home and then go vote. And I can't bring my wallet to dinner because otherwise I'm not going to get free food, right? So I got to make sure he pays for it. I can't. Exactly.
He doesn't bring his wallet to dinner because he knows someone else is going to be paying for it. There we go. Right here. It's on film. It's going to be on YouTube forever.
There you go. Trust me, that strategy works great on dates.
Wait a minute.
Keep it down in here.
Oh,
Oh
no.
my gosh.
Sorry, Matt. We'll be more quiet.
The producer's yelling at us. Okay, yes, sir.
Me
Oh boy, he's threatening to drive the building home. It's got how many floors does this have?
12.
12? Yeah, okay. That's a scary threat.
I know.
Anyway, I got home after they voted, and then I got my wallet, and I turned around and drove up, and I voted myself. So don't think I didn't do my civic duty, and I hope you did too on August 4th.
Now, when you got through voting, did you go by Brahms and pick us up all ice cream?
Did I do that night?
No.
Oh.
He never does.
What do you mean? I just did that like 4 nights ago. Okay, this isn't the time. We only have 20 minutes left on our last show together.
Oh, my goodness. What do you want to do?
I don't know. What do we want to do?
Well, let's talk about how there are 40% of Americans out there that if they had an unexpected expense come up, and, hopefully this is timely for a lot of folks, or hopefully it's not timely really, but I think it will be because of COVID-19 and the economy and how many people are now out of work and how many people are, about ready to get evicted and, all these other kinds of things. That little $400 unexpected expense, a lot of them, 40%, probably more than 50% now, could not cover it. I mean, think about that. As a country, when you say 40%, we got 330 million people. So what's 40% of 330 million?
Well, I'll tell you.
I think that's about 126 million, give or take.
Isn't it 44%?
44% maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. 44%. I don't know. It's a lot, but it's over.
Yeah, over 145 million people.
Now think about that for a second. 145 million people in our country, the best country in the world, and we've got that situation where if a $400 expense came up, they couldn't cover it without either A, borrowing money, putting it on a credit card, stealing, doing something dishonest that they probably don't want to do, and a lot of them would never do, hopefully. And, it's just an awful situation and stuff. And it's right here in the most powerful, I could go on and on and on and stuff like that. But I don't know if that's the way you, as one of our viewers, feels. But Mr. Asa has a thing to say about that.
Mr. Asa does have a thing to say about that. It's really important that people start to have a way to bounce their actually have their investments or their wealth protected. Excuse me, I could not think of the word for some reason. We always talk about gold and silver as tools of wealth insurance, but even just in general, having something like an emergency fund can be crucial. Because whenever you're having to, rely on forms of credit and stuff to cover these expenses, in the end, it's going to be even worse, right? Like if you can't cover a $400 expense, obviously there are some financial hardships for you, right? And then if you have to rely on credit to then cover that, in the end, it's going to be even worse because obviously credit has interest rates. And if you have to take a loan out, the same problem applies. So it's really important to have an emergency fund to start to fight against that. There was a story, I guess you could call it a parable that I read a few days ago about how a poor man, let's say he makes like come up with a random number, let's say $38 a week, right? Let's say it's like 1970 or so, when that makes sense. He makes like $38 a week, and he has to haul lumber or something, and it's really important that he has working boots. He can go to the store and he can buy a $50 pair of boots, which would really those are a nice pair of boots. Those would last him for quite a while, but that's more than he makes in a week. And if he does that, he is not going to be able to cover anything else. And in the end, it's not going to be good. So he decides instead he wants to pay for the $10 pair of boots because he doesn't have the backlog to be able to cover the $50 pair of boots. That $10 pair of boots is okay. It's pretty good. But within, 1 or 2 seasons, like, 6 months or so, the soles are worn out and he has the same problem. His toes are touching the ground out of the sole of the boots, and now he's got to go buy another pair of boots. Whereas those nice boots could last him, 5-10 years. In the end, if he could pool his money and have an emergency expense to cover the nice pair of boots, it would be much better for him in the long run, because if buying a $10 pair of boots every 6 months, very quickly is going to cost more than $50. In 2.5 years, you're still going to have that expense, and you're not going to have access to the nice boots. Whereas if you could, cover that with, a backlog of funds, then it would be, it would be much better in the long run. It wouldn't continue to cost you. It's usually what we call the punitive damages of poverty, is that they, continue to accumulate. There's like an interest to poverty that some people say. But the important part there is how you get to have that emergency fund, because it's easy to say, oh, I need to have like an emergency fund. I need to have like a bit of a backlog, a bit of an insurance. But, it's not like you can just magically come up with that. It's not like you can magically have more income, right? And that's where, alternative assets such as gold and silver come in. They give you a chance to, systematically and slowly invest what you have. And then as, gold and silver continue to grow, so does your, wealth insurance. And it helps you accumulate and protect your wealth so that you have some protection. You can start to cover these emergency expenses. This is a good way to build up that emergency fund, that emergency portfolio, when other, that's a lot of people don't know a good outlet to do that, especially in like these trying climates. And it's a fantastic way to do that. It's a fantastic way to have a backlog so you can afford those, better boots, so that at the end of the day, you're not having to currently, recur emergency expenses, and then it'll hurt you in the end.
So if you look at the dollar and trace it back to 1913, when the Federal Reserve was created, you'd see that a dollar was a dollar. And through, the last 107 years, there's been just a lot of little milestones in there. 1944 was when Bretton Woods established the dollar as the world's reserve currency, which is huge. That was right there, kind of as World War II was winding down. And that's the only reason this country is able to have $26 trillion in debt, is because we are the world's reserve currency for the moment. In 71, Nixon closed the gold window and took the dollar off the gold standard, they call it. I told my family last night, I said, okay, Saturday is August 15th, and it will be the 49th anniversary of when President Nixon did that. I said, why don't we have a gold standard party? And what we'll do is, everybody can, have something on them that's gold. And then I even got a little bit kind of crazy, and I said, and people can wear like their version of a Nixon mask. And it got voted down. But it may happen next year, because next year will be the 50th anniversary of the, are you sure it's 50?
Yeah, 71 to 21.
Yeah, 50th year anniversary of the dollar being taken off the gold standard. So stay tuned. Next year on August 15th, you may have a party to come to.
That's right. It's going to be, what, like a masquerade thing? Everyone has their own Nixon?
Okay, everybody, you can come as Nixon or any of the other people in the political world back then, maybe the Treasury Directory and all, or director and all this kind of stuff. But as of now, the U.S. dollar, from being a dollar back in 1913, is about 3 cents. And here's why. Let me give you a little example. The dollar's lost about 96% of its value since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. And here's the example that they show us. They say, let's say your family had a trust in 1913 with $1 million in it. Back when $1 million was $1 million. I mean, that was pretty good. And it lost the same value and purchasing power as the chart above. You are the lucky person to get the money out today. How much would you be getting? And the answer is between $40,000 to $50,000. Now think about that. 1913, you had $1 million trust. No withdrawals were made, anything like that. Just, it's been sitting there. And you get down to today, and obviously it doesn't sound like they had any earnings or interest or anything like that included in this example. But if you were the one that was getting it out today, with just the value of the dollar going down as much as it has, you'd be getting $40,000 to $50,000. And then the question is why? And the answer is because over those 107 years, the increase in the money supply. And that's why I wanted to go through this particular one in such detail today. Now think about this for a second. The money supply. What's happened in the last 160 days? I mean, when this COVID thing started, we were already $23 trillion plus in debt. And that's just, the debt. That's not including any of the entitlement programs and stuff. So what was their first knee-jerk reaction as a government? You know, they did all these crazed plans of, you know, let's get $600 a week for this, and let's do that, and let's do this, and let's do that. And basically, they've added another 3 to 4 trillion to our debt, which means they've increased the money supply. So what purchasing power we still had left as of February has been diluted even more just in the last 4 months. Or wait, that's 6 months. 6 months. So at some point, I mean, there are some people out there that are predicting the demise of the dollar as the reserve currency for the world. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this broadcast, you know, remember it. It came from this mouth. This is not the opinions or anything of Axe Media Group, but this is my opinion. If that day comes, you will be very unhappy unless you've got some gold and silver, because the U.S. dollar will be worthless. And so anyway, not to get too far off on a tangent there or something, but you know, if you look at the price increases in the last 10 years, you know, food, I mean, food's gone up exponentially just since COVID started, because now what do you got to do? You know, one, you've got to either order it with Instacart, or two, you've got to, you know, go get it yourself, which means, you know, you got to have a mask. And I mean, it's a big ordeal now. We're used to, we kind of look forward to going to the store and stuff, but the cost of food has gone up, both food at home and food out. You know, water and sewer's gone up, heat sources, you know, I mean, we're in the middle of August, so that may not be quite the issue now, but it may be the power for your AC if you've got it. And I'm sure that if you're like me, you looked at your last power bill and you were like, okay, we got to start turning out more lights here. College tuition, Asa can speak to this.
Oh, I can. Increased at over 151% between 2000 and 2018. And to put this in perspective, see, in 2000 you had a $20,000 cost of college tuition, right? You know, still a chunk, but much better than the $50,000 that it would be today. Or that would be as of 2018, so it would be even more than that today. That is a huge increase in those costs, and trust me, you know, I'd be a lot happier with a $20,000 than a $50,000. It'd be much, you know, less difficult to come up with, you know, scholarships to cover 20 than to cover 50. So it's just those kind of huge price increases that we've seen, even in recent years, that are our purpose.
By the way, I'm looking at the U.S. debt clock, and you can get this app on your phone. It's usdebtclock.org. And right now, the U.S. national debt is at $26,631,000,000 and counting, which means that it won't be too long here, and we will have 27 trillion. And if you don't know what a trillion is, now think about it. It takes 100 billion, right, to make a trillion?
1,000 billion.
1,000 billion.
Yeah.
1,000 billion to make a trillion. And if we got 26.6 trillion, that's a lot of billions. I mean, let's just face it. You were talking about pallets of money, and
each of those billions is a pallet of money as well. It's, you know, 1,000 millions. So you get a million millions per trillion.
That's hard to comprehend.
Yeah, it is.
You think you comprehend it, but you don't.
Look up. I wish we had like $1 trillion here to show them, but oh, yeah, really? Look up like a video where they demonstrate just how much that is, because you'll just see like there's like one where it's like demonstrating a trillion using like kernels of corn or something, and it's just such a massive amount. Like,
well, just pallets of money. You know, that works real well. So Matt kind of gave us a 5-minute sign. I did have one other thing I wanted to get into, so I'm gonna kind of cut this short. Although I will mention, medical care was up 97%. And here's a question to you as an audience: do you think medical care has gone up since February?
I do.
I mean, you know, we've got a economy that's in flux, and there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and you know, it's hard to say where we'll be a year from now. But you know, I actually was talking to Jim Whining yesterday afternoon, and we were kind of visiting about a few things, and I said, you know what, you just got to pray your butt off. And he said, pardon me? And I said, well, okay, so maybe I meant to say you just have to pray a lot. You know, you need to get down on your knees and pray for direction and help and all this kind of stuff. So not to get all preachy on you, but I do want to cover one last thing, which is I know over the years that we've been doing the show, we talk about gold and silver. We talk about some of these other alternative investments and different opportunities and stuff. And I just thought maybe what I should mention is there's other ways that we can find money to put in gold and silver. It doesn't have to just be in your wallet or your checking account or your savings account. In other words, where I'm going with this is we do have a company that allows us to do traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, individual 401ks, and even health savings accounts. So now if you've got one of those 6 products and are not happy with what's going on in your portfolio there, you might think about that and give us a call, because we could transfer that from wherever you've currently got it held and move it into a traditional IRA, or that has to go like to like. So if it's a traditional IRA, we've got to transfer it to a traditional IRA. The only exception to that is if you're at a company and you're getting ready to retire, you can roll your 401k or whatever the retirement pension plan is there into a IRA. And that is an easy transaction, or an easy transfer, I should say. And my point is we could put it all in gold and silver. It's something that I've done quite a bit. We even did it for my wife last fall when she changed jobs. She had a small 401k, and we moved it over to this particular company I'm referring to and put it all in silver. And she's been doing the happy dance. Yesterday she wasn't quite so happy, but today she's back up dancing and things are good. Now, here's the other thing that's kind of interesting about this particular company. Not only can you do precious metals in this company's IRAs and Roths and simples and so forth and so on, but you can do real estate, you can do private lending, you can do private equity, you can do closely held LLCs, and much more. So if you're looking for alternatives for your retirement accounts, you might give me a shout, and this might be a solution. So many times in your typical bank or brokerage firm, they'll have a self-directed IRA, but when you really get into the fine print, you can do stocks, bonds, mutual funds, maybe a few other little things here and there and stuff, some ETFs, stuff like that. But, I just can't recall really seeing ones that could do real estate, precious metals, private lending, private equity, closely held LLCs. And this is all legal, above board. This particular company's out of Colorado. Their fee schedule is very, very fair. And, especially if you've got one of those 6 already and you're just not happy, or you've been looking at things that have been going on and want to make a change or an addition or something like that. So anyway, just food for thought. Didn't want to get too far off on that tangent, but I also didn't want to have you think that we were a one-trick pony and only talked about, or maybe it's a 2-trick pony. 1 trick if it's metals, 2 trick if it's gold and silver.
Exactly.
We've got lots of ponies in the corral, so we can help in a lot of different ways.
2-trick pony.
I don't know. Maybe we should work on a different analogy here. But
2-trick dolphin.
2-trick. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. This. I got to tell you. Let me close up with this, because Matt's back in. He's giving me this look like, I told you 5 minutes ago. Why are you still talking in the microphone?
I told you 5 minutes 7 minutes ago.
Oh boy.
7 minutes ago.
I'm sorry. I told you 5 minutes when you actually had 7 minutes.
Oh,
now
right.
we. Okay.
You got 30 seconds.
He knows we normally go over.
Okay. So here's the thing. I got to tell you, I've been kind of helping out a buddy of mine from Texas that has a lot of folks in the area that have revocable living trusts, and going around and doing reviews of their trusts, which means I've been out of the office and actually on the road quite a bit over the last 2 to 3 weeks. And I've found it very inspirational, because I got to tell you, 1, it's good to get out of the house. 2, Missouri is a great state, and there's a lot of people out there with some fun personalities, and you know they're just full of all kinds of vim and vigor, and it's just been really, really kind of a neat thing to get out. Yesterday, I visited with a couple in just outside Mount Vernon. He was a Navy veteran, and they'd been married 60 years, 2 sons, both grown. And they were so funny. I mean, I came out of that 2-hour meeting, and we'd reviewed their trust and everything else, and just, you know, was just kind of back to where it felt like, you know, there was some blue skies and some light at the end of the tunnel. So, you know, if you find yourself maybe thinking that there's not a light at the end of the tunnel, I'm not saying run around and not have a mask on and all those kinds of things, but I know for me lately it's been good to get out and talk to some people and, you know, see them face to face. And it's interesting to see the political signs in the yards. I don't want to get off on which one I see the most of and stuff like that, but I will tell you it's very interesting here in Southwest Missouri, the ones that you see the most of. So with that, I think we're done. Mac's got his arms crossed. If body language is any indicator, we've got to turn this show off.
Before we wrap it up, though, Tony, thank you very much for having me on your show.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's been a lot of fun. Matt, I appreciate it as well. Jim and Pan Whining and Dr. Paul Collins, I really appreciate.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah. And if our ratings go down, you know, I know where you live. I'll come find you because I mean, if it's just this guy, I mean, we're going to miss you very much, but you're always welcome back.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Southwest Missouri. Thank you for Axe Media viewers and so forth. You guys have a blessed week, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.